Oh no! It's morning!
And that means it's time for the ROTN Mournings
Podcast!
Best way to start your morning off.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of ROTN Mournings.
Hi. Hello.
Hey, I'm Scott.
I'm Matt.
I'm Brandy.
I'm Grim.
And I'm the angel of fucking death. Yeah. Finally caught up with you, Freddy. You bitch. Who's the bitch now? I don't give a shit about your knife hand, huh? In all seriousness, guys, this has been fun. Been a fun series. I kind of hate to see it come to an end, you know. The primary antagonist is dead, so, you know, that's just the end of it, right?
No, that's not exactly true.
Wait, what do you mean? It's called Freddy's Dead. I mean, this is it.
It's a
Well,
misnomer.
That's what they thought, but that's not what happened.
And you're stupid.
You mean to tell me that a movie studio promoted a film where, entitled it that its antagonist was going to die just to get more people to come and buy tickets and then decide to cash in again later?
Absolutely.
Whatever.
So that will be in the movie part of this. So Scott, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and go through the news really quick. We got some pretty exciting ROTN news.
That was the weatherman's news just now.
What's that?
That was the weatherman's soliloquy, you fucking heartless, non-artistic understanding person, you.
I do still have a weather report. Anybody want a weather report?
I do not.
Okay. All right. So I'm cranking up the chopper.
Chopper.
Chopper. Chopper.
In half?
The copter. That's what it is. The weather report. Roses are red, violets are blue. It's hot outside, and Grim is a piece of shit.
Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you!
That actually rhymed with it.
You know what? I hate this.
Okay, Scott.
Okay. Well, do we have ROTN news this week?
We do.
Okay.
We have rotten news.
Coming soon.
Yes, I want you to bring that up.
Okay, so there's some acting classes and stuff going on. Would you like to hear about that? Okay. Or
Tell me more.
You? Get the fuck off me! All right. So there is a Haunted Chicken House acting class coming up July 31st, which is a Sunday at 12 p.m.
That's also with scouting and orientation.
Yes.
And
Urza, oh my god. And then City of Chaos has an actor and staff audition as well at 6:30 p.m., which is August 6th.
Yeah,
And
those are two really big things, guys. If you're listening to this podcast, you may already be following these guys on Facebook and stuff, but these are two really fun haunts, and they are both having their actor auditions on those times. So definitely check those out.
And Nightmare 3008 their opening weekend is September 23rd, so mark your calendars.
So far, that's the earliest ones I've heard opening, so I am jazzed about that.
And I don't remember what day this was, but we had a Good Stuff's flavor tasting.
it was,
Last week on.
yeah, I think we talked about it on the opening of the podcast last week.
Well, I said it again.
We did that.
It was
We
so
did that.
amazing. It really stuck well with all of us.
It did, and I can't remember half the shit we do anyway or talk about. So, yeah. But our rotten characters are on the Good Stuff's newest poster. There's that.
Yeah, y'all go get you one of those posters because there's like a good handful of us on it, a good handful of friends on it, and they're actually
so
all
many
family. So
amazing
yeah.
people on there.
We love you all.
And And I'm excited that
Frankie.
we will be getting posters featuring all of them.
Yes.
Lovely.
What else do we got?
Nothing. I was going to bring this up, but apparently we already talked about it.
We went and ate at the Frothy Monkey earlier today and
Yes,
did a
we
review
did.
there. That was
There'll be a
super
review
cool.
to come.
Yeah, soon. I've got like 4 reviews backed up.
We even
Unfortunately,
bought
Frankie was
some
there.
freshly ground coffee to try from there here, and that was also wonderful and will be included in our review.
I'm glad that you're all here to hear this abuse. That
Shut your goddamn mouth.
I need somebody to believe me. Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
Make it recent.
Very light news week this week. Oh, and of course, we started our new mid-week podcast known as Morning Friends with Rotten, and we did an interview with Biggs, which will come out on Wednesdays. That podcast will air on Wednesday morning.
Biggs is fucking awesome.
So that's next Wednesday, right?
Yes.
August 3rd, right?
Don't know.
Sure. Yes.
No, it'll be this Wednesday, which would be July 20-something.
Yeah.
27th.
Yes.
So I'll have to make that adjustment. Okay, then.
Vomiting.
Cool. That's fine. Cool. Yeah. So, guys, like they're saying, like, a lot of the haunts are starting to do their actor auditions, and then also we're only like 2 months out from the first episode of Rotten Strips, which starts our Rotten October programming. So we're so close to the busiest time we've ever had.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's exciting.
Yes. That is exciting.
It is exciting and also terrifying. I imagine sleep will be hard to come by throughout that month or so.
So if Freddy was coming after us, he'd just be fucked.
Yeah, because
Yeah, we're going to leave.
Cool. Any other news, guys?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. We had some podcast comments. I think you asked for those, didn't you, Scott? Did you want to read them?
What? We had podcast comments?
Yeah.
You made a post about the podcast and people commented.
How long ago was that?
Last week, wasn't it?
Yesterday?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's been a very long week for me.
Okay, well, anyways, one of the comments is Jim Midge says, "It's my favorite episode yet," talking about the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
Is, of course, Ritalin, the badass who made our opening intro music.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And I'm glad that you guys brought that up. That intro is made by Ritalin, and the new artwork for Rotten Mournings comes from Mr. Marlin.
That's true.
Yes.
Some
Yeah.
awesome people.
So, let's see. Oh, yeah, there is some comments here. Yeah. Let's see what some of these comments say. One comment comes from a Grimes Solace, I think.
You're a son of a bitch, Scott.
I don't know if they listen to this podcast, so I don't know if it matters, but they said
Sounds
so
like
much,
real awful to me.
Fuck you.
so much, yes. Another comment we got was from Michelle Lynn Holcomb, who says, "Tell Frankie to quit writing poems to the weather report that have nothing to do with weather."
Well, luckily for her, it's too fucking hot to write a poem this week. But I still managed to drudge up a good one. So, fuck you, Grim.
She's
Awesome.
listening.
Antonia Musgrove says, "The best podcast."
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just gonna guess. What's that?
I think it's Musgrave. I know it's hard to believe. Grim just whispered it to me.
What did I say?
I wasn't
Hi, I'm
listening.
Scott. I'm a dumb fucking bitch.
I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, cool. I'm getting reading lessons from Matt. This is
I
how
know, right? Hello.
He's come a long way.
Yeah. But she did say the best podcast, which leads me to believe this is the only podcast she's listened to.
Yes.
Fair. Marlon Fernandez says, great podcast, although it made me want to watch A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, and I truly forgot how bad that movie was. So thanks for that. And then there's not a smiley face.
Yeah, that's our bad. We were hoping we'd spoil it enough that nobody would want to go watch it.
We were hoping that, unlike Alice, we'd actually save some people, but
Oh,
But apparently, we instead gave people the need to remind themselves.
we did done the opposite.
Jim Midge says, I don't actually have to listen. Now you tell me. Which is kind of not true for Jim. Jim, you have to continue to listen.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. I don't know where that got miscommunicated, but
Sorry. Caitlin Kitty McQuinn says, change the privacy and make it shareable, hon. So, thank you for that comment. That's awesome. That's something. And then she did share it out, and that was awesome of her. So thank you, Kitty, for doing that. Adam Williams. I still believe there definitely should be a warning label for earbud headphone users due to the wonderful grime sauce may cause temporary hearing loss or bleeding from the ears.
This is an untrue comment.
No, it's a real comment. I just read it.
You made it up.
No, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, because you made it up. Hallucinations.
This came from Adam Williams, and he is a loyal listener, and I'm going to give him credit for that.
Well, you get no credit, Scott.
I mean, it just sounds like you want to be feisty and fight, so have fun with that.
Do you want to fight? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Why don't you go outside and get started without me? I'll be out there in 35, 45 minutes.
Fine, I will. Bye.
Yeah, so that was some comments. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
The comments on the post in the community. We're going to do some more of those where you guys get an opportunity to say some stuff, and we'll read your names and comments poorly online.
Yes, we will.
Podcast.
Especially if you trash talk us. We will definitely call you out for that.
It's our favorite. What was there more news? We got more news, guys?
No.
Probably.
Before we jump into the next part, do you guys want to tell people about the new Rotten Strips season?
What are we telling them about?
Do you want to tell them what the name is?
I don't remember what the name is.
Yes, there's not a name. So look, guys, I have prepared.
Maybe they'll tell us.
I have prepared a list of possible titles, and you guys give me a yay or a boo, and they can see a part of the process of how we make this stuff.
Okay.
Does that sound good? Okay. Does that sound good? Boo. Okay. Well, this game is going off smashingly.
Boo.
Series over.
Okay, so the first one is Rotten Strips 3.
Boo.
Okay, cool. Rotten Strips 3 Fast, 3 Furious.
Boo.
Yay.
Yeah, I heard 2 yays and 2 boos. Okay, that's fine. Rotten Strips Down to the Bone.
Boo.
We're not making a rap album.
Rotten Strips 3. Sometimes they come strip even more.
I don't know. I like that one.
I'm confused.
Don't like any of these names.
Rotten Strips Cash Grab.
I mean, that's a little too obvious.
Yeah, indeed.
A little too on the nose.
Pretty on the Rotten Strips Three Ways.
Boo.
That's no, I hate that. Okay, so
Freddie Cooper. Listen, Freddie Cooper will get mad at me, and he'll get suspicious if we name it that. So better not.
That's fair. So we're still a work in progress, apparently.
Still a work in progress.
Anyway, guys, that's how we come up with stuff. We
but
pitch them and then they shit on those ideas. Cool. Anything else before we jump to the next section?
Itself is that.
Don't think so. You got something else, buddy?
Are you talking to Urza?
Yes. And no reply. So
reply.
I guess we can move on.
Kick it to you, Scott.
Sounds fantastic. Just want to double check, make sure we hear all the news. Yeah. Yep, that's it. All right, guys, we're gonna take a break. We'll come back. We'll be talking about what is arguably the best movie in this series. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Coming this October, as night falls on a quarantined prison somewhere in Vincent, Alabama, vampires have taken over at Hellbilly Hollow, and things will never be the same.
Come visit Hellbilly Hollow in Vincent, Alabama. You'll have the best night of your life.
Yes, we'd love to have you in our neck of the woods.
The wait is driving us batty.
This year, we've raised the stakes. Join us.
Join us. One of Alabama's top-rated haunts. This is the one for you.
Hellbilly Hollow Haunted House Attraction in Vincent, Alabama. Open at 7 p.m. every Friday and Saturday in October.
Tickets available at the door.
Exclusive merchandise, tasty concessions, live entertainment,
Well-lit bathrooms.
For more information, check us out on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and at hellbillyhollow.com. And we will see you there.
Join us.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yay.
Guys, we are I know you guys are all very, very excited. We're talking today about the 6th installment of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, Freddy's Dead.
That's right. Not a nightmare title.
Yep. I was looking for a round, like just a standing ovation when I said that, and weirdly didn't get it. So what is up with this movie?
Dude, I love this movie.
Well, I just found out that it's not the last one. I think that's bullshit.
Let's go ahead and go around the room and kind of everybody kind of give their couple of sentence thoughts on the movie before we get started.
I'll start it off right now.
Sure. And I'll go over this in greater detail during the overview, but this movie is dark. It is dark. A lot of the writing choices that were made, a lot of the plot points, they're just dark. Darkest of the series. However, obviously, from this movie, we can tell darkness does not a good movie make.
Well, it is very dark, but I also think it's much more comedic in its elements too, and in all the jokes it chooses to make. So there's that side of it too. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this rewatching.
I loved the chaos of the dreaming and the wakening and everything else that was fucking happening. I don't know. I love the chaos. It seems like it was actual dreamlike state happening. And the references to Wizard of Oz, that was probably my favorite, as well as the fact that Alice Cooper had a scene in it. That was fun.
I think that, like what Frankie said, this is both the darkest and most, like, comedic ones, and it's so weird how they mixed such an over-the-top comedy with such an over-the-top dark basic plot synopsis. And personally, again, I think this is like my favorite Freddy because none of the other slashers are cornball psychopaths that have fun with what they do so outwardly like Freddy does. And I think that's what really sets him apart from all the other slashers for me.
It was fun.
So, yeah, I think you guys hit on a lot of good points. I think for me, I go out on a limb and say this is the quintessential Nightmare on Elm Street film. This embraces a lot of the things that the other films wanted to do, and finally gets Freddy into the state that he's most known for. The dark, but also the comedy. I don't know that it's my favorite. I don't know that it's the best, but I would say it's like the essential must-watch of the series.
I can agree with that.
Yes, I agree with that too. I very much enjoyed it. I mean, we'll get into all the details later, but I did very much enjoy it. Although I did notice in my research that a lot of people claim this is the worst Freddy film.
It's true.
I don't know that I agree with that.
No, watch 1 and 3, and if you want some extra credit, watch 4. But then after that, beyond that, you're fine.
Do we want to go ahead and do the breakdown?
Yeah, Brandy with the breakdown.
All right. So Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare was released in September of 1991. This was actually 2 years following Part 5. And even the TV series ended a year before this. So there was a break of Freddy before they got back to it. It was directed by Rachel Talalay, and the screenplay was by Michael DeLuca and Talalay. And of course, produced by Robert Shea and Aaron Warner of New Line Cinemas. The budget was $9 to $11 million. The box office was $34.9 million, and opening weekend was $12.9 million.
That's a lot.
Like, none of that budget went to the CGI, obviously.
No.
Did you know that Talalay, did I just say that right?
I said Talalay.
Talalay, I don't know, was sick in the second half of the movie, and someone else had to direct.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Is that why it says directed by both of those people?
I think so.
So let me give you a brief synopsis of the film plot, and then we'll go back and break it down from the beginning to end. So the movie opens up on a fella who you are led to believe is the last surviving kid from Elm Street. This is like a good 10 years after the stuff that happened in Part 5. And he's basically on the run, and Freddy is kind of like hot on his tails as much as Freddy can be. But he finds himself in this random town where he gets picked up and taken to a group home type of thing. And there's a few different characters in the group home. There's the dream scientist, there's the concerned social worker, and then there's these 3 other kids. One kid whom has a rich father who's just like the video game skater kid. One girl that had a really bad family life and is like the hardened, I'll kick your ass chick. And then you have Carlos. He's deaf. And apparently also comes from a bad family that used to kick the shit out of him or whatever. So they decide to like escape this place, and this new kid has just come in, and he won't sleep, and he's being a dick, and he happens to have the same dream as the therapist. So the therapist is like, we need to go to this place. And the kid's like, I don't want to. And he goes, and it turns out that the 3 other kids had stowed away in the van, and they get to Elm Street, find the kids, tell the kids to go call the shelter. All this funny shit happens. He drops the Carlos, and he drops the stoner kid, and then this whole time they lead you to believe that it's Freddy's child is the boy, and then Freddy reveals that he only needed him to bring him to his daughter, and it turns out that the social worker is actually Freddy's daughter, which then she kind of goes into his dreams and sees his past, and it gives a breakdown of who Freddy was as a child, and eventually she pulls him out of the dream in the most ridiculous way, and then like just kind of fucking kicks the shit out of him. And yeah, they all go home happy, and the dream demons are like, fuck, we've got to find another Freddy Krueger. And then the end. And Freddy like throws up his own face like a couple of times. I'm confused about that, but still.
That's something Grim does every live.
True.
Let's scroll all the way back to the beginning of this movie. And you basically start off the beginning with a young feller on.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
Before we get started on the move through of the movie, I did want to say something about this script that we have. There was several scripts submitted, and one of them was by Peter Jackson.
Yes.
And I think that's awesome.
I'd love to see Peter Jackson's Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, well, his script was actually titled The Dream Lover. And it featured a Freddy that was powerless in the dream world, and kids would actually have slumber parties where they would take sleeping pills and take turns beating him up in their dreams.
Shit out of him. I can see how that one got thrown out.
Yeah, there's also like a cop that's put into a coma, so that he can always be in there, kind of policing it.
Yes.
And then Freddy finds a way to break free, and he has all of these people in the dream world to play with.
Yeah,
that would have been a fun.
The original script was actually featured Alice's son Jacob as the protagonist, and he was being helped by the Dream Police, which were Taryn, Joey, and Kincaid from Part 3. And after Freddy kills Alice, they help the kid, but Talale didn't like that script.
Yeah.
That on September 12th, 1991, a day before the U.S. release of this movie, Los Angeles declared it a Freddy Krueger Day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, but that was very short-lived. Because that people like criticized that, and they were like, hey, maybe we don't need a Freddy Krueger Day because he's a pedophile murderer, and we don't need to glorify that. And then Robert Englund came out, and he was like, yeah, guys, we probably need to like differentiate between movie escapism and like crime reality.
Well, so we had talked about how dark and also comedic this movie was. And, you know, this was Talale's directorial debut, but she had actually worked on the first 4 of the Nightmare films. This was just her first time directing.
She worked her way up.
She did. But she also, the 5th one is the only one she didn't play a part in. But she also was a producer on Hairspray and Crybaby. And most of the crew from Crybaby was carried over to this set to work on this as well. And
so she was deep with the waters.
Right. And also, while it was being filmed, was right when Twin Peaks was at its height of popularity. So it's actually credited that David Lynch and John Waters were the most influential pieces of this film, even though they themselves didn't work on it.
Yeah.
What? Where was that? I mean, Spence made a Twin Peaks reference.
Yep.
I believe it was Spence, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The end. That was the Twin Peaks in this
Some
movie.
of the stuff involved with this movie was inspired by them, not created by them. I think that makes a big difference.
I'll believe it when I see it. Oh wait, I watched it. It wasn't there.
I didn't know that Rachel Talalay was actually the director of Tank Girl, and that gives her way more credit to me.
Yes.
What? Tank Girl gives you more credit than Nightmare Part 6?
Did you see Nightmare Part 6?
Have you seen Tank Girl?
Yeah, I have. It's up there.
They made Ice-T a kangaroo assassin.
Yes.
Okay.
A Reaver.
And the Silence of the Lambs guy is a good guy.
Yep.
I
So-
think it's also important to note before we get started that there was no little girls jumping rope in this, and also
Yeah.
I don't think Freddy killed anyone with his glove.
No, I mean, unless you count the power glove, which technically doesn't
Well,
actually count. Technically, the only person that got killed with Freddy's glove was Freddy.
I guess the power glove, that's just him being hip with the kids and
Yeah.
keeping up with all the high
But
tech
this
shit.
is, like you said to begin with, though, this is the only nightmare film to not feature the girls jumping rope.
Yep.
So you start off with this young feller, and he's on an airplane, and he's flying, and he's freaking out because he's afraid of heights. So dumbass move. First, right off the jump, just dumb move. Also, again, not doing a very good job of doing stuff that'll keep you awake either. And the lady next to him tells him stop being such a pussy.
Yeah, and
Which is
there's your
fucking-
God status for this episode. God status to the lady that tells him stop being such a pussy.
Well, you know, I do have another thing to mention here. Did you know that the woman next to him in the plane was actually supposed to be Divine, the legendary drag queen who was in like Pink Flamingos and
that's
Hairspray? But she passed away right before they started filming
damn.
this.
And see, that would have been your John Waters.
Yeah.
Right,
influence.
exactly.
So she gets sucked out of the top of the plane, and he's like, I almost made it out. And Freddy's like, you're not going anywhere or whatever, and rips him out of the bottom of the plane, and he falls to the earth and wakes up in his bed. And then he goes to the window, and it turns out he's still in the air in his house. And that's where you get the kick-ass, like, Wizard of Oz reference. When we were watching that, Graham might have seen this before, might not remember it, but she was watching it and she was like, oh, wow, this is just like Wizard of Oz. And then Freddy pulls up on the broom and she starts screaming. So they did a good job of.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little soul, too.
Yes.
And it's playing the Twister music there, the Valkyrie, right? Isn't it the Flight of the Valkyrie or something?
So I'll tell you what, even though there was no David Lynch or John Waters influence here, there was definitely some Looney Tunes influence
Yeah,
all over this.
all
Yes,
over this.
agreed.
So he, basically feels like he's fallen again in his house. And he, again, falls to the ground, falls down a hill for like,
Best movie tumble ever.
yeah, it's kind of like reminds me of the tumble from that, the Superbad movie, not Superbad, the one with Andy Samberg as the stuntman.
And
That's
just
Hot
follow-
Shot. Hot Rod.
Hot Rod,
Hot Rod.
yeah. And he falls and falls and falls down the hill, and then he gets up, and there's like an old guy like, yeah, your ticket, please. Don't forget your ticket. And then Freddy appears on the bus and immediately starts with the one-liners beyond just the I'm going to get you, my pretty, and says like, no screaming while the bus is in motion.
Yeah.
And then he slams on the brake and throws him through like, I guess, a portal or something into this other town. Yeah, it's very Looney Tunes.
So two things right here. I mean, all right, first off, we're right off the bat thrown into cartoon land here with the fucking human-shaped hole in between the realms. And secondly, the door is red in this one.
You're a fucking piece of shit. So Freddy goes over and closes the opening, I guess, and says, be a good doggy and go fetch. And again, you get your second round of music with lyric to it, which doesn't happen a whole lot in Freddy movies where there's not like a radio, like somebody's not listening to music. You always have it for the intro, but never just a random scene in the middle will have music with lyrics. So that's interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that is normally like ambient music or cinematic music.
Yeah, and the song's all like, I'm dreaming, oh yeah.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is a song about dreaming.
Did
Yeah.
you know I was dreaming when I was dreaming that one time?
There's a scary guy wearing a hat over there. Yeah.
It's about Freddy.
But old Mourning hits his head on the rock and catches the amnesia.
Yep, he caught amnesia. See, this is the thing about Earth and rocks. Like they are synonymous with giving people amnesia. So be careful around Earth and rocks. Apparently, it's a congenital disease. Said that right?
Yeah.
Sure. You did say that word correctly. Yeah.
And he becomes John Doe.
He becomes John Doe, and so suddenly we are thrust forward into the halfway house where you see little Timmy Spencer,
A recovery youth
a recovery ute shelter.
shelter. And that's not okay, sure.
Yeah, a recovery ute shelter that you see Spence being, yelled at by his rich dad, like, "You're gonna play tennis in the U.S. Open if I have anything to say about it." Yeah.
And what is Spence playing?
Is he playing Ninja Turtles?
He's playing one of those shitty Tiger handheld
the
games.
worst games.
Can you remember when handheld gaming was limited to those? At least there weren't microtransactions.
Yeah, right.
So,
Those were the best. I remember racing, and you could be in the left lane, or the middle lane, or the right lane. That was
right. I always loved the fact that you could kind of squeeze the screen and see all the animations and figure out where the hell you were supposed to go.
Yes. Yeah, we were hacking Tiger handhelds.
Yep. So, of course, Spence goes back. We're introduced to the next character, which is I was abused by my father, so I punch things character.
yeah.
Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy. And here's another thing we were talking about earlier, the red herrings about Johnny Doe, misleading us to think he's the kid. There's red herrings with Tracy too.
Yes, because she talks about the only thing I see in my nightmares is my dad.
Exactly.
There were
Every
red
time
herrings
she
all
has
over
to see
this.
him every time she closes
Yeah.
her eyes.
I think in the Freddy fandom, she kills her father. She gets in there or whatever.
Yeah.
But also, I think in Freddy fandom, it said that Freddy's first human kill was his father.
Yes.
Okay.
Because of this movie.
Okay.
So, after meeting her, you immediately meet Carlos, who is the deaf fellow. He has a mechanical ear to help him hear. And he immediately takes it out and shows that he can't hear anything. And Spence is like, "Don't tap out." So again, this movie really quick tries to throw a couple of tropes on some characters and be like, okay, this is their character, move along. So after which we that kind of progresses, and the new kid shows up and starts talking about this dream, and he's got a clipping from a newspaper that shows this lady who says, Kruger woman, and it's got this water tower behind it, and girl, what? What's that?
Well, you
Scott?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. So there's this water tower, and of course the therapist is like, "Hey, I noticed that water tower from my dreams." Goes to the kid, "Where did you get this? Who's the blah, 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 blah." The dream, therapist guy tells her, "Okay, this is important." Doc tells her, "Okay, this is important." Yes, Yaphet Kotto, who was in Aliens.
Yeah, his name was Patrick.
Patrick in the original Aliens movie.
This is where the poster comes into play, right? With the dream people.
Mm-hmm. The dream semen.
I wonder.
Dreaming.
It looked just like
Dreaming.
I wonder if these dream demons are gonna come into play later somehow.
Yeah, right.
As horrifically shitty CGI.
I thought it was his semen at the end.
Dreaming. We're calling them the dreaming demons.
Demon semen.
And by the way, Johnny Doe, to his credit, actually makes reference to using coke to stay awake.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, he's talking about the soda.
Yeah.
They pussied out again.
Pussied out again. Can I get some like caffeine? Maybe some Coke? I mean the soda. So she's like, hey, we need to go to Springwood to kind of fucking figure this out, which is like, why in the fuck would anybody come to that conclusion?
Right.
Hold on, before we get too far past the dream here, the movie tries to be mysterious about the identity of Freddy's kid, but this fucking dream of hers, you would have to be brain dead to not have this spoil the movie for you.
Yeah.
I mean, it is plain as day that she is actually Freddy Krueger's kid. But we'll get back to that later.
Yeah.
Wait, did you ever bring up walking up no stairs? Or like that? I thought his dream in that was
well, that's
also,
when he has
useless.
the second dream in the actual loony bin. No, that's after the fact.
Okay.
Because
that was just such a useless dream. Like, he knew he had amnesia, and then it's like telling him he had amnesia.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And he walks up invisible stairs.
Yes.
Like the guy in part 3 walked through a door. This one kind of kicks it up a notch, and he walks up invisible stairs into a place that doesn't exist, so he can see himself tied up, and he's like, "Free me, you fucking idiot! I'm your memories. I'm your memories." So she decides to go to Springwood, and as I said earlier in the synopsis, all 3 of the kids are stowed away in the back, like
in this spray painted rape van.
Yeah,
this youth shelter uses its official transport. And the youth shelter, by the way, looks like the house from Fight Club that's been converted into a hospital.
Yep.
What kind of fucking establishment is this?
A poorly run one.
Well, it's on the edge of Springwood where there are no longer any kids.
Yeah, so they get into Springwood, and it's like, okay, they get out, they go to a town fair that they're having for some reason, which doesn't make any sense because there are no kids, and you can tell that these parents are like all fucked up in the head. But at the same time, when they first get there, all the parents are like throwing popcorn at them and saying, "Get out of here." And it's like, why the fuck would you have a fake fair with no kids and then tell the kids to stay away?
Here's the thing. Here's why I love this scene. Having a town where all the kids have been murdered and all the parents that are left throw a town fair, and they are insane with grief and obviously are just horribly mentally ill. That is great. I love that, and it is the first big example of how dark this movie gets.
It really is.
Why did they try to chase the kids away? What would
because they knew they were going to be murdered.
It kind of gets explained with the whole cameo of Roseanne and Tom Arnold. Because Roseanne comes in like obviously this traumatized mother that wants children again. And then Tom Arnold comes in dragging her away going, "No, kids bring him. Kids bring him."
And then the chime on the church the insane asylum where the nun was raped that they still haven't torn down.
Can we count that as a ghost nun cameo?
I think so. I think the ghost nun rang the bell like, "I'm gonna get out of here. Go away."
I mean, I really think that the bell just served to like stop Roseanne mid-racist rant.
Yeah.
You know, because she was all like, "Oh, Trump is so awesome. I fucking hate black people."
That makes sense. You want to take the kids off.
I want to take these kids off and indoctrinate them.
And by the way, I feel like Catherine saying, "Are you listening to me?" was a dig at the deaf kid.
Guys, let's go ahead and take us a quick break, and when we come back, we'll finish up with this film, okay?
Indeed.
Don't go that way, man. You know who's back there? It's that serial killer from that movie.
What? Why are they here? I I thought they were supposed to be chasing the kids at summer camp or invading the nightmares of the kids on that one street.
Well, they're all here. Brought in to fight off the mutant chickens, and now it's a horror free-for-all.
Oh, where do I buy tickets?
The Haunted Chicken House in Heflin is the largest tourist attraction in East Alabama.
Open every weekend in October. Tickets are $15 per attraction. 2 for $25 and 3 for $40.
Ride the hayride of horrors.
Visit the Haunted Chicken House.
Defy death in the infamous Crazy Train.
For more information, check us out on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and thehauntedchickenhouse.com. And we'll see you there.
Hello.
And we're back.
Back.
We are back. I know that was a long break, but hopefully you guys were able to check out our sponsors and hear more about this exciting stuff now.
Yeah. So where did we leave off?
And the children shall endure.
So the bell goes off, and they're like, all right, we got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
So they get the hell out of there. They jump in the van, and they're like, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to find our way out of this town, and then we'll figure it out from there. So they go booking off in the van while, what's his name? Jesse? Is that what his name was? What was the main guy's name?
Was it?
Johnny.
There was no name.
Johnny
That was all no
and
name.
the therapist lady go to the school.
Maggie, who turns out to be Catherine, but you don't know that
Yeah,
yet.
you don't know that.
Crew.
And so they're riding around in the van, and they keep doing this kind of Twilight Zone circling the block, and they always end up back in the same spot. And the stoner kid's like, dude, you're stupid. Give me the wheel, bro. And he tries it and fails at it. Meanwhile, Carlos passes out in the back. Another one of my favorite lines in this movie, when they're hollering about him getting the map and he's falling asleep and he starts unrolling the map, and it's like this infinite map that unrolls and there's tons of map everywhere. And then she's like, Carlos, check the map. And Carlos is like, flips it over, and in blood it says, you're fucked. And then he wakes up and he's like, yeah, well, the map says we're fucked.
And this is also one of the times where she says something like, why aren't you listening to me?
What I didn't get is the teenagers not actually being teenagers. Spencer is offering them pot, and they're just like, get that out of here. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And plus, like, why is the looping thing happening now? Like, none of them are asleep yet.
Well,
I mean,
they were saying, like, basically, like, since Carlos was asleep, that they are all in that loop then, because he was asleep that whole time.
I thought that he passed out during, and then that's when the map thing happened.
No, because they never show him, because he could have just been asleep that whole
I
time.
guess.
They don't show him until he pops awake.
Yeah.
That was a big ass map. Like, must have been of the entire world.
Giant ass map.
Ass map.
So the girl stops in the middle of town, and she's like, fuck
She is
this.
looking for an empty neighborhood.
She's like, I'm going to go find a neighborhood. And she's like, oh, this is my kind of neighborhood. It's empty. And they go in this kind of regular looking / rundown, boarded up shitty house, which then dramatically transforms into the Kruger house, which is literally only a gaffe for the audience, because it could have just been the fucking Kruger house. And they would have had no fucking clue.
And the door is red.
Well, it drips blood red.
Technically, it's white to begin with, but
Yeah.
it's a faux door.
Then it transforms into the Kruger house, and the door is red.
The Kruger
This
door.
time.
The Kruger red door on the Kruger house with the red door.
This time it is red,
You
yes.
can go directly to
Which-
hell with that.
Which version were y'all watching?
The last one,
Because it was blue in the version I was watching.
you're a fucking piece of shit. Turn your negative off, you dick.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was not blue.
So they go into the Kruger house, and immediately Carlos goes upstairs, finds a nice garbage ass bed, and lays down to take a nap. And he yeah, the end. But he hears when what's the other girl's name? Tracy starts calling his name, and he hears her, and he gets up and walks out in the hallway, and suddenly he's in like an apartment building complex. and both of the hallways are walled off. And he's there, and he sees his mom, and she starts calling to him, and basically puts him on his knees, and she's like, "You've been a bad boy," and she pulls out the longest fucking Q-tip in the world.
And he says, "No, Mama, don't make me deaf." And we know he's already.
Yes, so clearly his mom did that to him, and that's why he's deaf. She fucking cleaned out his ears so well they didn't work anymore.
Again, dark.
Yes.
So
dark.
his mother plunges a Q-tip into his ear and out the other end, and then it's Freddy, and he's like, "Oh, got your ear." No, he doesn't do that yet. But he pulls the Q-tip out. Of course, the hearing aid falls off, and then Freddy like actually cuts his ear off for good measure. I'm not exactly sure because I'm pretty sure the earpiece went out when he did the Q-tip thing.
Yeah.
But then he cuts his ear off like that has anything to do with how you hear.
Yeah, that's not how hearing works, bro.
Freddy, you're backwards.
Then it becomes like an ear tick on his head.
Well, he runs around looking for it, which is funny because Freddy's doing the like cartoon sneak thing behind him and screaming.
But I also love the way they emphasize the sound throughout this part. And everything is muffled except for the sound of his own heartbeat and his own breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything else is super muffled.
And Freddy is doing all the cartoonish shit for us, the audience, because there's no point in it. There's no point in it for the character.
Literally just for the audience. He is breaking the fourth wall.
The cartoon-loving audience that for some reason showed up to watch a horror movie.
So eventually he finds himself like on inside of the boiler, which is like now a tiered boiler room. And he's screaming about, "Give me my ear back." And Freddy drops the hearing aid and he puts it on, and it turns into this like spider tick thing.
I love that idea, but the effect looked like shit.
It did look like shit. His ear being cut off looked like shit too, also to add to that. But it's hard to fucking do a cut off ear for real. But so he puts it on, it turns into a spider, and then he hears a water droplet and it amplifies the sound times like 1,000.
Yeah.
So he runs over and he catches a drip. He turns the water fountain off. And then Freddy's like, "Oh, I've got a fucking needle in my finger. I've been holding this here." Yeah. And he pulls it out and he drops it. And it's like the fucking Hiroshima bomb. It's just, and he catches it because I think the kid just knew he was going to die if he heard stuff.
Hey, you think that was a subtle Albert Fish reference, him pulling the pen out of himself?
Think about that, but that's interesting.
Albert Fish, notorious child killer.
Wouldn't it be badass if Freddy would have like just pulled his pants down a little bit and jerked it out of his pelvis or something like that?
Well, I think we wouldn't be asking if that was an Albert Fish reference then. They were obviously inspired by Albert Fish.
So he catches the pen, and Freddy's like got a handful of pins, and he drops them, and they all make the bomb noise, and then they hit the tin, and they start bouncing, and all this noise is going off, and he's like screaming, and then Freddy comes in,
and that guy just dies.
Yeah, it just
nothing
dies.
Happens as a result of him dropping the thousands of pins. The guy just curls up, covers his ears, and then it ends and he's fine. And then it's like, what was the point of that?
And then Freddy comes out with the chalkboard and that he elongates while he's going,
which is another like Looney Tunes.
Oh, that's why the pen thing didn't work, because he had to do another fucking cartoon thing.
Another bit to do. Yep.
In the meantime of that, Maggie and John actually visit the high school, and there's a teacher that's teaching a no class.
Yes, and they have a few different Easter eggs to Freddy's past on the timeline on the chalkboard.
Like, there's a kid that Freddy has in 1966, and the kid is taken away. And he states that, the teacher does. Teachers, like everybody there, all the parents that are still alive and whoever knows all about Freddy, and they're just freaking crazed and just talking about it.
Yeah, and they basically bring up right then and there that Freddy had a kid that they took away.
That was taken away. Yeah.
So then he pops up with the chalkboard and he starts scratching on it, and Carlos's head, I keep wanting to call him Marcos, Carlos's head explodes. The end. He's dead.
Yes.
They go to find Carlos, and he is literally like just gone, and the only thing left is his earpiece, and they never like address where the body is or anything like that.
Exactly.
It's just gone.
Hey.
So
apparently is not interested in
Yeah.
this podcast.
She is like kind of determined to fuck
So
our shit
you
up.
pick up there after Carlos is dead, and they start searching for Carlos in the room, and they run downstairs, and Spence is high as shit and sitting on the couch smoking.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so he's sitting here saying he's watching the TV, and she looks over at the TV, and it's got like a broken screen, like it's not on, it's just a dusty, broken TV. And I think that's when she's still looking for Carlos, isn't it? Because she leaves to go find Carlos.
Yeah, because they tell Spence like. So what
Could
was,
you just repeat that last bit? I just couldn't hear you.
We were at the TV being broken.
Yeah.
what was the last thing you heard?
She was talking about the TV being broken. I just listened to it.
Okay.
So yeah, Spence is laying there high as fuck and staring at what to Tracy appears like a broken TV that's all dusty and the front of it is shattered. But that's not what Spence sees. But then you were talking about how that's when they come in and are asking him about seeing Carlos.
Yeah, they come in asking Spence if he's seen Carlos, and he's like, "Whoa, man, whatever. I'm totally baked, dude." And they're like, they give up on that and they move on. And pretty much immediately, Spence sees Carlos. He's inside the broken TV amongst other souls of the damned, I suppose. And he's telling Spence to like, don't fall asleep or whatever, the usual Nightmare on Elm Street shit. But of course, you know, Spence doesn't listen. He's like, "Whoa, dude." And then, you know, we get a music video for In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
Well, before that happens, I want to address something else about how dark this movie is. All those lost souls, like, they come to Springwood, and every kid is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Freddy's kill count is way the fuck higher than anybody gives him credit for, because he's killed every child, every fucking child in Springwood, except for one that got away.
It's like a lot of time passed between part 5 and part 6.
It was 10 years.
It was supposed to be 10 years.
And
this is actually
in 10 years, Freddy was able.
1999.
In 10 years, Freddy was able to achieve what he couldn't do in a year's time. Like, he was only getting like 3 kills a year. And he goes from 3 kills to like, I don't know the math, but like, it's got to be like 400 or 500 kills a year after that.
Yeah.
There was a good handful of kids in that town, not in the hospital, but in the town.
No, that's the one place where he wouldn't be, because there's no kids there.
Well, that's apparently because they were all shipped outside of town to the weird-looking insane asylum slash juvenile detention slash orphanage slash whatever.
So he's sitting there, and you get another ping back to the first nightmare, because you have Johnny Depp doing the drug commercial.
And this is also foreshadowing Johnny Depp's future relationship with Amber Heard.
Yes.
He gets hit in the face with a frying pan and verbally abused.
Yeah.
Well, he's actually credited on IMDb for this movie as guy on TV, Oprah Noodle Mantra.
Well,
that's what it said.
And you mentioned earlier that Crybaby was in production at the same time.
Yeah.
Who was the star of Crybaby?
Yeah.
Johnny Depp.
So he does this is your brain on drugs bit with an egg and a frying pan. And then Freddy pops up and smashes his head with the frying pan and goes, "Yeah, one question. Looks like an egg and a frying pan to me. Hey, Spence, want to trip out?" And In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida starts playing, and the colors come out of the screen. And one of the things we haven't addressed is that this was the Freddy Krueger movie that decided to go in 3D. This would have been a perfect scene to have in 3D.
Oh, yeah.
But this was not what the 3D was for. Like, they were like, "Yeah, we're going to do some 3D effects, but like, this is just a precursor to the terribleness that will be coming."
From a lot of the stuff I read, like, I don't know why the reason to go 3D was. I don't know if they were told they had to for some reason in order to do this movie. But that was apparently a big issue with the CGI and all of that, because they spent more time trying to figure out how to make the 3D work than how do we make this look good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it seems like they spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to make the 3D animation.
Well, much like the title of this film, it was a gimmick. It was just to get people into those theater seats.
Yeah.
Well, especially after the poor reception they got for the one before this.
Yeah, but once you're in that theater seat, they've already got your money, so it's too late once you find out that it's only the last 10 minutes of the movie that's in 3D.
And they went really heavy on promotion of this movie with more gimmicks, even holding a real life funeral for Freddy.
Yeah.
Being a reunion between all the previous actors and crew members, just trying to get more seats in there for opening night.
And kids like me, 12 years old, going to see the movie in the theater, it was a different world back then. You could be 12 and go see a movie like this.
Yep.
Like Freddy in 3D, oh my God, of course. Like, I have got to go see that.
It's kind of funny that this is like the fifth highest grossing of a series of only 6 films.
Right.
Like
the highest opening weekend amount with all the.
It did have the highest opening weekend. That's right. But also it's just weird because like Jaws 3D and Friday the 13th 3D had all come out in the 80s 3D craze. There wasn't a 3D craze happening in 91 when this came out. And the other thing, too, this would have been a great scene for 3D with In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. But if you like this scene and that song gets stuck in your head, good luck hearing it on the soundtrack because it was too much money to put on the soundtrack.
That's hilarious.
A soundtrack, which, by the way, was released by Metal Blade Records. And in case you don't know, as the name of the company suggests, it is a metal label. Where the fuck was the metal in the soundtrack to this movie?
Well, they did have the Goo Goo Dolls. Oh, wait.
Yeah. Had Iggy Pop there at the end. Yeah, that's not bad. I was glad to see that happen.
And Alice Cooper as an actor, but not Alice Cooper as a performer.
Yeah, well,
no better.
I think Iggy Pop's song is the one that was up for a Razzie for worst song written for a movie of all time.
Yeah, but I mean, all Iggy Pop's gotta do is show up with no shirt on, and it's a party.
Oi, Iggy Pop, yeah, let's go.
He's from Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah,
Ohio.
Well, that was Matt's Cleveland, Ohio accent.
Cleveland, Ohio. I sound just like people from Cleveland.
Kind of like Drew Carey.
Hey, Cleveland.
So, after In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida starts playing, he is sucked into the TV screen where he is now a video game character in a very shitty-ass video game.
Yeah, hey, about that video game. I mean, it looks like shit, right? Still better than that NES Nightmare on Elm Street game we got.
Yes.
And that power glove that Freddy used, way better than the actual power glove.
So he's pulled into the dream and he bounces around, and again, you get to see how in real life they are affected by what Freddy's doing, because Freddy's just bouncing him around the room, and he's doing this thing where he's jumping. He's like, boing, 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 boing. I love that fucking part.
It's so fucking fun.
And then, of course, Carlos is like, or not Carlos, Johnny is like, hey, we got to get in there and save him. He's getting his ass kicked, and he's like, knock me out. And she's like, I don't have to do that. I've got a different way. And he hands her like a stick and then smacks her, and she knocked him out. Yeah.
She's got such rage and such teenage freaking idiot. And she has this enlightened ability to, guide herself through meditation to sleep. Like,
yeah, because that's what I'm rage-filled, but I also know how to meditate well.
Maybe the rage thing was supposed to be another red herring. Like, because we're about to see again coming up when she pops into the dream. Freddy makes the comment about Daddy's waiting for you. Maybe the rage thing was to make the audience think, well, I mean, she's daughter of a child killer.
Yeah. And so they come in and steal his remote controller away and think for some reason that that's going to save the kid. I'm not exactly sure why they thought that. If you pay attention, you can see that Freddy's got the glove on the whole time, like the remote controller glove. And then he goes, "Oh, you forgot the power glove." And he starts playing the thing on his little power glove.
Well, then he has his line where he's quoting the actual commercials for the power glove, except he does it his way, because the tagline for the power glove was, "Now you're playing with power." And he says, "Now I'm playing with power."
Yep.
And the interesting thing about this is they actually asked Nintendo if they could use that line, and they said no.
Nope.
And then Bob Shea said, "I don't care, do it anyway."
Yeah.
And because it actually helps them sell way more power gloves after the movie was released, they didn't sue. Wow.
And much like the people that went to the premiere of this movie, they went and purchased a power glove only to be disappointed.
So he continues to play the video game with the power glove, basically beating the hell out of him, and it shows him like getting his stomach kicked in, and then he hops up again, he starts bouncing around the fucking room.
Which is insane.
And then he bounces up the stairs, and that's where you get the line of Freddy going like, boink, 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 boink. And then he's on the edge of the stairs, teetering back and forth, and the therapist again is seeing this like, what the fuck is even happening? She tentatively...
Her face didn't
No,
No.
her face did not read that. Like, you're expecting
She was
her to
so
look shocked,
deadpan.
and she's more like,
let me
Tell
write
me
this
more.
down.
There's obviously no dance.
Yeah, obviously. So then all of a sudden he knocked him down the stairs. He falls down the stairs and a giant hole opens in the house, which has never happened before. And apparently he falls into Alice's uterus.
That's what that was.
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay.
And she's like, I couldn't save Spence, not a giant fucking hole just opened up and swallowed one of these kids.
Okay, he's gone. It's too late.
She was, completely kind of cool with it, like without any understanding other than the fact that he's been bouncing around the room like a fucking cartoon.
I loved how Tracy picked Rick in the nuts and Freddy had a complete Michael Jackson stance.
Yeah.
With the glove.
He also had that line that I thought was in the other movie where she's kicking him and he says, "Kung Fu this, bitch."
Yeah.
And she just continues to kung fu the shit out of him, which I don't know why he would have requested that, because he did get his ass kicked.
Well, but I mean, that's the thing. He's got a long history of just in the end wrecking kung fu masters.
Yeah, that's true. Like we expected that Alice's brother would show up and be like, yo, don't trust the glove laying on the ground.
Whatever you do.
Whatever you do. So
Practice the dodge.
they then like go back to the insane asylum, and everybody's like, those kids have never existed. Wait, before that happens, they're trying to get out of Springwood, and of course now the other kid is stuck because he got knocked out by the girl. John Doe is stuck in the dream, and he goes back into the dream of the falling house. He says that, as long as I don't leave the bed, I'm fine, which I don't know exactly where he got that idea from. But then Freddy just catches the bed on fire, and he's like, fuck, I got to get out of here. And he jumps out the window, and he starts to fall. We're getting a little feedback from you, Scott.
Okay. What kind of feedback?
We can hear ourselves echoing.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. So he jumps out the window and begins to fall, and he magically has a parachute. And then Freddy's up and coming out of his shirt, his little wife beater tank top shirt. And
He still thinks he's safe.
still thinks he believes that he's Freddy's kid at this point. He's like, I'm Freddy's
He's
kid.
convinced himself.
This is definitely how it is. So Freddy is in the parachute, and he comes down, and he's like, you can't kill me. And he's like, oh, you think I'm your daddy. Wrong. Oh. And he starts sawing through the thing, and he's like, but wait a minute, I thought I was your kid. And he's like, oh, no, you actually just needed you to bring me to my daughter. And he's like,
and then Johnny's like, you mean I'm a girl?
and And then Freddy's like, wrong again. And he cuts him loose and he falls to the earth and Freddy pushes a fucking pegboard underneath him.
And he might as well have fucking rabbit ears on at this point.
Because he pushes it over and then he humps down and wipes his head clean like he's sweating. And then he falls on them and he is in the back of the van and these really weird looking holes appear in his body like he's an air mattress and blood kind of comes out. And she's like, oh, we lost him too.
Well, she's out there. She is out there yelling, and he takes this long death scene to go. It's not a boy.
Yeah. About that. So he's got enough life left in him to say 5 words. All right, before he dies. How about this? Freddy has a daughter. See, I did it in 4 words.
I'll
you useless fuck.
I can do you one better than Matt. You're Freddy's daughter.
Yeah, something to that effect.
Or it's a girl.
He might not have known it was a therapist because at this point they're still trying to red herring you into believing it
could be Tracy.
It could be Tracy or the therapist.
He knew that he was tasked to bring his daughter to him. He knew that for sure.
So it had to be one of them. One of the 2 surviving members of his group.
And we as the audience were supposed to pretend like we don't know that it's Maggie.
Yes.
You know, even though that was spoiled very early on.
Very early.
Yeah.
So, of course, they go back to the insane asylum, and nobody there remembers any of the kids because now Freddy has the power to erase dead people, which, weird.
But Doc says he can remember because he can control his dream.
Complete nonsense. What does that even mean?
He puts himself to sleep with the electrodes on to go dream.
And he goes to Freddy, and this is another thing that you know, Frankie was talking about in the last 2 films how nobody really tried to actually fight Freddy. This film is a great example of, put a little fight in, and you can pretty much wreck his fucking ass. Like, he is a big ass if you're not afraid of him.
Yeah.
Everybody in this movie fights him and wins every fucking time. The only time they don't win is when he's far enough away from them to do like ranged attacks of the mind.
Oh,
that's
Maggie. That's important to note.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, this is the only film in the series that there are no female deaths.
Yeah. True story.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you count Maggie's mom.
Well, yeah, Maggie's mom, or the, maybe upwards of 12,000 children that were killed.
But not in the hospital.
But not in the hospital.
Yeah, I don't count those.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So of course, they are like, oh, this is Doc faces off to Freddy, beats the fucking living shit out of him with a bat, kind of just like it's no biggie. Then tears off a piece of his sweater and immediately wakes up because he's got this thing to chime off as soon as he grabs a piece of the sweater. And he wakes up and he's got the piece of sweater in his hand and he's like, oh, holy shit, I know how we can get this guy.
And horrible edit right there where he holds up the piece of the sweater. It's just like, it cuts away way too early. Like, you can't even, I mean, we know as the audience it's a piece of sweater in the hand, but like, why didn't you just end like right there after he says that line? Why do you have him move his hand into the shot and then immediately cut before it even stops moving?
So he goes to the therapist and he's like, hey, I know how we can get him. We can pull him out of the dream. All we got to do is just send you into the dream and kind of like, once you grab him, we'll bring you back out like I did. And it works fine. And he tells her out of fucking nowhere, hey, take these 3D glasses and put them on right now. And that's your cue as the audience to also put on your 3D glasses.
Which the audience did not know ahead of time and is apparently wearing them all throughout the movie going, well, why in the fuck did we buy these?
Yeah. And by the way, like the way they incorporate the glasses, it's somehow both genius and complete nonsense. I mean, it's way better than, having text on the screen saying, put on your glasses now. But as we touched on, Doc's explanation of why this needs to happen is dumb as fuck.
Yes, it is. of these, you can see his dreams.
What the fuck does that mean? We have completely gone off the rails with how these powers work.
I thought maybe since it was because them sharing the same bloodline or something that she was able to see his dreams.
Yeah, but if that's the case, then what the fuck are the glasses for at all anyways? Like the glasses are completely yeah, they were just there. They were literally there to tell the audience, this is where you put your glasses on. So she goes into the door, the Dream Master door, whatever the fuck that is, and travels into this room with this really bad fake electricity, and it comes up with using her wristband like Wonder Woman. She shorts out the electricity and starts going in these doors of his memory, I guess.
Hey, hold on just a second. It just occurred to me. We skipped over the big reveal. The dream where it's revealed to us because we totally did not know before that she's the daughter.
That she has the dream and it shows her in the pigtails and she goes up.
She didn't know she was adopted.
Yeah, and she didn't know she was adopted. And she goes up there and I think that's the last one. Like she's seen it, but she hasn't seen the subsequent end part where she goes to Freddy, because it starts where she goes into his memory. And
the 3D glasses thing is the last fight in the dream world.
But
like
before that, she had
right, she had the dream, and it's the big reveal because you see the dark scene.
Well, that's the last memory. The last memory is where she sees him.
Oh, wait, you're right. Yeah. You're right. That's
because
what it is.
She had it, but ended right when she came out of the room with the pigtails on. So she goes into the first door, and the first door is Freddy at school, like beating a hamster to death with a hammer, and the kids are calling him son of 100 maniacs.
Yeah. Again, dark.
Dark as fuck.
So
he's just
dark.
sitting there just slamming this fucking thing. And then she goes into another memory door, and he's in his basement, like already cutting himself up with a straight razor. And Alice Cooper comes in as his adopted father.
Yeah, for a cameo, and he's killed by having a razor pointed at him.
So Alice Cooper comes down there and starts beating him with his belt, and he's like, "Thank you, sir. Can I have another? You know the thing about pain? Once you stop feeling it, you can use it." And then he points the knife at Alice Cooper, and there's a scream, and she's waking up back in the door room again.
This was so much better with Jack Black and Dio.
I mean, maybe.
Where's the disagrees?
We skipped over where he was cutting his own fingers off and green liquid was coming
Yeah,
out.
when he was with Doc, he did another very Freddy thing where he's talking about the different ways people have tried to kill him. And he's doing the thing from part 1 where he's cutting his own fingers off, going like, "Hey, let me tell you something, Doc.
They've tried this."
Yes, first they tried burning me. Then they tried, what was it? Something burning me again.
First they burned me, then they buried me, and then my favorite, holy water.
But
I just keep on coming back. Keep on kicking.
Yes.
And so, of course, like, she goes into the last door, and she actually progresses forward in her memory where she remembers going upstairs and seeing Freddy, like, bash her fucking mother's head into the fucking step of her tree, like, fort.
So dark. Yes. So dark. Again.
And so she comes out and she's like, I won't tell. And then Freddy's all like, "But you did, didn't you?" And she's like, "Hiya, I got you. Got you, bitch."
Well, no, hold on just a second. Freddy actually says, and we talked about this last night, he says, "I got him for taking you away," or something like that.
He completely changed the fucking storyline by saying that the reason he was attacking the kids from Elm Street was payback for them taking his kid from him. So it's like a whole different layer. Like, he didn't give a fuck that they killed him. He gave a fuck that he took their kid away, even though he killed kids before
they
that.
took her away because he was killing kids beforehand. That makes him an even bigger prick.
So the way I interpreted that was not so much that that was really his story, but like that was the thing he was using to convince her to have sympathy for him.
He was doing the sympathy card with her
Yes.
anyway from the memories, and
that was just a manipulation.
Freddy was gaslighting.
Yes.
Before gaslighting was a thing.
Bitch, you're the one that's crazy.
You're the one that's killing all these kids.
Gaslighting is always
So then she grabs him and they're like, oh, she's got him. And they wake her up and Freddy's fucking not there. And they're like, well, he's here somewhere. And it's like, what, huh?
Yeah, why? Like the piece of the sweater was in Doc's hand when he came out of the dream. Why was Freddy in another part of the building when he was pulled out of the dream?
Cowering like a little bitch.
Yeah.
So they're like, well,
you know what happens when
I don't know where he's at.
Real world back in part 2, so maybe there's a reason for him to cower like a.
So kind of a big deal here is that Freddy is now in the real world and he is quote unquote powerless.
Yes.
That's very important because as soon as she figures out where the fuck he's at, he starts fucking exorcist crawling on the ceiling and shuts the door. In real world, like it makes no fucking sense. Like the dream demons didn't give him like superhuman crawl on the Spider-Man powers. But
and is this when he has the fight with Tracy?
No, he had the fight with Tracy. The Tracy fight was a little bit before this because she had fallen asleep and it was her dad. And he was like, he came over to Tracy. It's Freddy's voice on this big ass burly dude talking about give daddy some money. And it gets really, really gross. And then she grabs a coffee pot with the best goddamn cord ever
It was such I need a
and beats Freddy to death.
All the while her food was burning.
All the while her food burning. Beats Freddy to death. He comes after her. He does a little power spinny glove thing because he says, it might be your dream, but it's my rules, which doesn't make any fucking sense. And then this is the big thing here. She runs over to the oven and burns her arms to wake up. And we all sit and go, hold a fucking minute. If they can hurt themselves in the dream to wake up, then how come they're not waking up when Freddy is doing light amounts of damage to them?
Well, I wonder if this was something added in that they had to do in order to end that scene and keep that scene the way it was, because Tracy had to be rushed to the hospital in real life because Robert Englund accidentally hit her in the head with the back of his glove, which resulted in stitches, a tetanus shot, and a knife scar.
How nice.
And he has the line, kung fu this bitch.
Yes.
So Freddy crawls on the ceiling, shuts the door, and the girl proceeds to do this like fucking family reunion joke thing where they're making all the, oh, I love you, you're my daughter, and she just keeps beating the hell out of him. And then she comes over and takes his hand and she says, oh, this reminds me of when I used to hold your hand when I was a kid. I didn't like it then either. And then breaks his hand backwards. And he has the worst, like, I hate how they changed his voice in the real world. Because he's like, I forgot how much it hurts to be a human. It's so bad. They had none of the rasp to it. It just sounds stupid. And he breaks his fingers back into place. Again, pointless. And then they start feeding her like shurikens and throwing daggers. And you get that really tropish, like somehow she throws a dagger which draws his clothes out from his body into the wall. Or he was just being defensive and put his arm out so she could pin it there.
Well, now
not exactly sure. Yeah. So Freddy's there pinned against the wall and she kicks the glove off. And again, we have the guy come in and go, hey, don't let that glove just lay around. That fucking thing is goddamn dangerous.
Yeah, if Tracy's standing here, that thing could go flying.
Yeah. So she picks up the glove and Freddy's like, try it on. It feels good. Like you'd figure in the last 10 years ago when he did this with the kid, he would have understood how this was going to go. But she comes over and she puts the glove on and then shinks it out like he does and walks over and stabs it in his gut. And then Tracy, the genius, just goes ahead and lights a fucking small fused pipe bomb. Like Here, take this already burning, very extremely dangerous pipe bomb.
Well, it's already lit.
I do like though that when she drives the glove into him, that's the way that so many of his victims from the previous movie died.
Yes.
We've discussed that before. Like all these elaborate setups, only for him to just in the end like stab him in the gut with his glove.
And then she sticks a fucking pipe bomb in his belly, and kaboom, he explodes, starts throwing up his own heads, and then here comes the fucking dreaming. And they're like, whoa! Crack! Rugo's dead! And then they zip off.
And, you know...
Oh, right. She leans in and says Happy Father's Day and gives him a kiss, and then he's like, kids. Kaboom!
And then all his semen comes out.
Yes. And speaking of the semen, I mean, the CGI was bad enough, but like whoever they got to do the voices of the dream people, it's like they just pulled people in off the street and kept the first take.
Freddy, we're going to use you! But yeah, and so they should have just used the heads that they used in part 5, because those look way more convincing. Right. But yeah, and he dies. The end.
Dead.
She says, Maggie/Catherine says, Freddy's dead. The end. It was so, like...
No cliffhanger.
And then that was it. We never saw Freddy again.
That's not true.
That's not true.
But that's what the title said, guys.
It's a lie. It's a misnomer on purpose.
Okay. Hey, by the way, in the credits, when they're showing all the clips from the previous movies, there's further evidence that the door was blue at one time.
Really? They show the blue door in the credits?
Yes.
Oh, motherfucker. All right, I don't like Freddy's dead. Take it back. Fuck this movie.
Probably my favorite credits of any of the Freddy films.
Yeah, because they actually had like a homage to Remember Freddy?
Yeah.
He was a friend.
Like Freddy in memoriam. Miss my Freddy.
My friend. Oh shit!
Is that what Iggy Pop was saying?
Yeah. I miss my Freddy Krueger.
So bad.
Pop, I don't know. Is that Iggy Pop?
That's how Iggy Pop carved out his career. Was just oh, that's why he's called Iggy Pop.
Other assholes from Cleveland.
Well,
he's
guys,
probably not from Cleveland. That probably fucked that up.
Guys, I hope that you have enjoyed our coverage of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. We have gone through all of them, all the way up to this one. And now that Freddy's dead, we only have 47 more films to go through.
Right, exactly.
Son of a bitch.
Okay, so there was one other thing I found out in my research for this that I found interesting. So Innovation Publishing published a 3-issue comic adaptation of this film, and then followed it with a sequel. However, only the first 2 issues of the sequel, titled A Nightmare on Elm Street: The Beginning, were released before Innovation Publishing declared bankruptcy. So the 3rd issue remains unpublished and the story remains incomplete.
The you can find that story online though, and it's kind of neat looking at that. It never became canon, but that and also the missing 47 minutes out of this movie, you can also find that online. So that's also kind of a need if you want to go deeper in this particular film.
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that. So there were so many different versions of this film with all the different deleted scenes. There are multiple versions of this film that include some of those deleted scenes, but there is not one film that includes all of them. There's just multiple different versions of it.
Yeah.
And even Rachel Talale has said doesn't understand why most of them were cut other than trying to meet certain time limits. Like it could only air for this amount of time. So they just started cutting random scenes.
They had like way less of a headache with the MPAA this time around. MPAA didn't want to cut as much stuff from this movie. The stuff that got cut was just to get to the Freddy faster.
Yeah, it was more exposition and backstory of the different characters, which may have made them more relatable. I don't know.
There was one scene at the beginning where like there's a TV playing and a weatherman goes on a 5-hour poem, and they cut that.
I don't know why they would cut that. That sounds like it would have made the movie even better.
I know, right? And put him in a helicopter. That'd have been awesome. Have him read some poetry every now and then.
It sounds like the class that series was missing to really take it to the next level.
It's fair. To the next height, a helicopter.
Yeah.
The next height.
Wait a minute, you guys are fucking with me. You don't like my poetry at all. The chopper, yes. Well, at least it's not about the poodle war. I forgot to mention that. We forgot to mention that in the news segment, guys. You and your senseless poodle war. Now, I don't know if your plan is to throw actual poodles at each other or to train poodles to fight each other like soldiers. But either way, it's disgusting and I won't stand for it. Protest.
You're sitting down.
Yeah.
He said he won't.
I won't stand for it.
Okay, that reads.
Too
All
bad
right,
you don't.
guys. We have gone way long on this topic. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we look forward to having you here with us next week.
Yes.
What are we talking about next week?
New Nightmare.
Freddy's undead.
At least Wes Craven's back.
Wes Craven's back next week. Okay, guys, you stay rotten.
Stay rotten.
Stay rotten. The door was blue.
Join us next time for another episode of Rotten Mournings.